We're going to continue on with our subject matter, which is that we were explaining or reciting and explaining the final section of the Quran, which is Juz'u Am, which is the 30th section. And so we finished Surah an-Naba, and so now we're going to continue on to Surah an-Nazi'at. We can review a little bit of the final ayat of Surah an-Naba. We mentioned at the beginning of this surah that the idol worshippers during the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, some of them, they completely disbelieved in the concept of the afterlife. So they completely rejected the notion that there would be a life after death. So the idol worshippers, some of them, they had that, where they completely said, you just live in this life and then after you die, it's just nothingness. And that's it. There's no reckoning. There's no judgment day. There's no life after death. And some of the idol worshippers, they were doubting. Some of them, they would think there could be a judgment day. Could there be a judgment day? Is there a judgment day? Wondering, in doubt, without being firm about either position. And so some of them, they would ask each other, and they would ponder amongst themselves. And so this is what the first verses of this surah, of Surah an-Naba, which is the first surah of the last section of the Quran, the 30th juz', starts by addressing their question, and of course rhetorically. And so among the things that the idol worshippers would say is that they would say, how could there be a judgment day? How could we be resurrected after we've been turned to dust? So they thought that it was a reach, they thought it was far-fetched that the human being, after becoming dust, that he would be resurrected. And so after the first couple of verses in this surah, and addressing the fact that they're inquiring amongst themselves about Judgment Day, and inquiring about what the Prophet ﷺ is speaking about and conveying, then the following verses are rhetorical questions to show that Allah Ta'ala, the one who has the power to create all these things, which are mentioned in the verses, that He's the one who has the power to resurrect the dead. So it's asking about, the rhetorical questions are asking about, isn't Allah the one who created the mountains and made them as anchors? Isn't Allah the one who made the earth inhabitable for human beings? Isn't Allah the one who and it made the heavens and the sun and the moon and night and day? And these rhetorical questions to show that isn't Allah the one who makes the rain fall from the sky and replenishes the earth and makes the crops grow, and therefore the livestock, they eat from the earth, from the vegetation of the earth, and they produce milk, and they grow meat on their bones, and human beings slaughter them for their meat, etc. Like this cycle, all these essential components that are necessary for the livelihood of human beings on earth, all those questions in those ayat, rhetorically asking, and isn't Allah the one who created this? Isn't Allah the one who created that? Isn't Allah the one who made human beings, for example, to be the way that they are and go through the cycles that they go through? So the one who created those things has the power to resurrect you. And so then after those rhetorical questions, then there comes the ayah which is emphasizing the existence of Judgment Day, that Judgment Day will occur. And that not only will it occur, but it is going to be a difficult day, a day of suffering, a day of torture and punishment for those who didn't believe in Judgment Day. So it's a warning to those idol worshippers. And then some details about what type of punishment or the kinds of punishment that the people of hellfire will be getting. Among them is that they'll remain in hellfire forever, and they'll never get out, and they'll never get used to the torture, and they'll never know peace. They will never have a break or a pause from the torture, and that they will not taste anything cold or any drink except boiling water and dense pus. And this is a fitting compensation for the blasphemy that they committed in this world, because idol worshippers, as you know, they mocked the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they belittled him, they spoke against him, they belied him, they contradicted him, they didn't believe in him, they rejected him, and they intended to remain rejecting the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and to remain not believing. They intended to remain as non-believers forever. And so this is why they are punished forever in hellfire, even though they did not live forever here on this earth. Then after mentioning the types of punishment and things that the people of hellfire are going to experience, then this is contrasted by the mention of the reward and the goodness that the pious ones will receive in the hereafter, referring to that they'll have victory, so they won't be losers. They will be enjoying gardens that are filled with various fruit-bearing trees. They will have young, beautiful maidens equal in age. They will have cups full to the brim with a pure drink. They will not hear any foul words or lies in paradise. And this is all a reward from Allah, a generous reward from Allah, because Allah Ta'ala is not obligated to do anything for anyone. Allah is not obligated to give us reward for obeying Him. Allah Ta'ala is not a creation. There's no authority over Him. So whatever reward that we get, whatever recompense that we get for our good deeds, it is a generosity from Allah. And so the last couple of ayat, verse 37 is glorifying Allah, and in verse 36 and 37, because verse 36 is referring to the recompense that the Muslim receives, the reward that the Muslim receives, a generosity from Allah. And Allah Ta'ala is the Lord of the heavens and the earth and everything in between, and He is Ar-Rahman, which means the most merciful, and the one who is exclusively merciful to the Muslims in the hereafter, and the one who is generally merciful to all the creations in this life. Then it's mentioned that the people, they will not be allowed to speak. They will not, on Judgment Day, they will not be allowed to speak unless they are permitted by Allah. And then verse 38, referring again to the magnitude of Judgment Day. It is the day in which Angel Gabriel and the angels, they will stand in ranks, and none shall speak except whoever Allah permitted, and whoever is given permission to speak, then he will speak what is right. The truth will be known on Judgment Day. The truth shall be established on Judgment Day. and meaning no one can escape the justice on Judgment Day, and everything, any falsehood would be exposed. Then verse 39, it means that is the day sure to come, yani reiterating that Judgment Day will occur. Therefore, whoever wants safety takes a resort to be accepted by his Lord, yani by his Creator. And so the one who wants to be safe on Judgment Day, then he does the things that are accepted by Allah. Then verse 40, another warning, or yani the emphasis of the warning, that indeed the people have been warned of a near punishment, yani because everything that's coming is near. The day when one will see what his hands have sent forth, and the blasphemer will say, woe unto me, would that I were dust. So right now in this life, many people do not take heed. Right now in this life, many people, they persist in sinning and they do not fear Allah, and they don't intend to ever stop. But on Judgment Day, the non-Muslims, they will wish that they were dust. They would wish that they would be, that what would be done to them, they wish that it would be done to them like it's going to be done to the animals. Because the beasts of the earth, the animals, they will be turned into dust on Judgment Day. They will not enter paradise or hellfire. There's not, the beasts, they're not accountable. So they're just going to be turned into dust. When the non-Muslim sees that the animal is turned into dust, and that they go to neither paradise nor hellfire, the non-Muslim wishes that he was turned into dust, because he realizes the torture and the suffering that he is going to be experiencing. So now we move on to Surah an-Nazi'at. So whoever is able to recite, what we're going to do again is call and response. We're going to start with the isti'adha, and then the basmala, and then the first ayah. So call and response for each one. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والنازعات غرقا. All right, so again, like we mentioned, the idol worshippers, among them were those who completely denied that there would be an afterlife and that there would be a judgment day. They did not believe in a hereafter. And so many of the chapters and the verses in the last section of the Quran, of Juz'u Am, many of them are referring to the horrors of Judgment Day and the things that will occur in the afterlife, and the proofs that Allah Ta'ala, the one who has the power to create this world and everything in it, has the power to resurrect the humans and the jinn and judge them. So the emphasis of the truth about Judgment Day, that it's going to occur, is reiterated over and over. And so one of the and in the Quran, how is usually does this happen? There is swearing that occurs. So Allah Ta'ala reveals that He swears by certain things, and so we're going to explain them as we go. And so this is for the human being to realize and understand that Allah Ta'ala is glorified and exalted, that Allah Ta'ala does whatever He wills, that these things that are being sworn by, these are things that the human being would cause him to think and to reflect. So the first part, وَالنَّازِعَاتِ غَرْقًا, is referring to swearing by the angels who violently wrench out the souls of the blasphemers. So we know by this that the non-Muslims, when they are dying or when they're going to die, there's angels who rip out the soul. And of course, this is part of what adds to their pain, to the pain of the non-Muslims, is that their souls get ripped out. But still, even when the souls are gently taken out, it's still painful, the throes of death, and as the soul is coming out, it is very painful. Even the pious people, they might feel that pain, or even the pious people feel that pain. So the pain itself, for the pious person, the pious Muslim, it serves as an opportunity for him to get a higher status and get a higher rank by being patient on that. And for the non-Muslim, his soul being ripped out is part of their punishment. But for the Muslims, their souls are pulled out gently. For the non-Muslims, their souls are ripped out. So Allah is swearing by those angels that rip out the souls of the non-believers. Even though the believers, they get their souls taken out gently, it's still painful. So then the second ayah, وَالنَّاشِطَاتِ نَشْطًا. And so, one more time. وَالنَّاشِطَاتِ نَشْطًا. Alright, so in this ayah is swearing by the angels who gently take out the souls of the believers. Then verse number 3, وَالسَّابِحَاتِ سَبْحًا. So here swearing, this means swearing by those angels who glide back and forth to the horizons to run the errands of managing and carrying out the orders of Allah. So here, we know, and this is something also known, that the angels, they always obey Allah. The angels, they never disobey. So when Allah Ta'ala, when the angels are ordered to do something, the angels, they carry it out. And they never disobey. They always do what Allah orders them to do. And so the different angels, they have different duties. They have different things that they are ordered to do, meaning that Allah Ta'ala made it an obligation upon them. They're obligated to do it. They have to carry out that thing that Allah Ta'ala ordered them to do. So, like we mentioned already, two things is the angels who are ordered to rip out the souls from the non-believers, when they're dying. So they have to do that. And the angels that they gently take out the soul from the Muslim. And there are other angels, for example, that are in charge of moving the clouds, for example. Other angels that are in charge of distributing the rain. Other angels that are in charge of writing down, documenting each leaf that falls. Other angels that they're in charge of, let's say, guarding the human, right? Because every single human being has various angels that are assigned to that human to guard that human from the harm of the jinn. And if it weren't for those guardian angels, the jinn, they would wipe humans off the face of the earth. Because as you know, the jinn, you cannot see them in their original form. So they're invisible. And their bodies are different than ours. Our bodies are palpable, hard bodies, solid. The bodies of the jinn are thin, like the air, like smoke, like light, like darkness, like wind. These are light bodies, bodies that are not, you cannot grasp them with your hand. So the jinn, for example, if there's, let's say, like a keyhole, the jinn can travel through the keyhole because they're a light body. It's not hard like wood. You can't, this piece of whatever table, if you're trying to put it into something, the entrance of it has to have a certain dimension where this length and width can fit through. Because unless you break it, then if the entrance of something is not fitting to the dimensions of that solid object, it's never going to go through. But the jinn, if there's a hole, they can go through the hole because they're light bodies. It's not like wood, like stone, like flesh and blood. So they can travel in through small spaces, basically. And the jinn, or the origin of the jinn, the father of the jinn, which is Satan, he really hates human beings. So he has a grudge and a hatred and an enmity towards humankind. Why? Because Prophet Adam, the father of humanity, the father of humans, our father, truly, Prophet Adam, alayhi salam, he was chosen for prophethood. And his species, that those that will receive prophethood, from the children of Adam would be from the human species. So prophethood was given and bestowed to that species. So because the prophethood was specified to that species is elevated and honored. Allah Ta'ala granted that prophethood to Prophet Adam alayhi salam, and Iblis, Satan, he was envious of that. He was arrogant when Allah Ta'ala, when the angels, when they were ordered to make sujood, prostration to Prophet Adam alayhi salam, when he came to life, Satan refused. Even though he's not an angel, but the order applied to him because he was near the body of Prophet Adam. He was in the place where the body of Prophet Adam was, and when he came to life, so the order applied to him as well. But he refused and rejected. Why? His thinking was, I'm better than Adam because he's created from clay and I'm created from fire. Because the jinn species are created from fire. So, and then, by the devil, objecting to God's order, basically as if he's saying that God is a fool for ordering Satan to prostrate to Adam. This is the source of the blasphemy. Because his objection is basically saying, oh God, you're wrong for ordering me to prostrate to Adam because I'm made from fire and Adam is made from clay. So once he blasphemed and he was informed, Allah Ta'ala sent an angel to inform him that he will never be forgiven, that he is damned, and that he is going to die as a non-Muslim, as a kafir, as a blasphemer, and he is going to be tortured in hellfire forever. So then Satan, he asked Allah to be able to live until Judgment Day starts. And it was not granted to him. Instead, the appointed time of death of the devil is the end of the world. So Allah sent an angel, of course, and the angel informed Satan that he will die at the blow of the first horn, which is when angel Israfil, when he is ordered to blow the horn for the first time, he blows it, and then the whole entire world is destroyed. And the people that are alive on earth at that time, they're going to hear a sound, a horrific sound, that crescendos, yani the sound of the horn, that crescendos, and their hearts are going to be ripped inside of their chests. And the only people on earth at that time are going to be the non-Muslims. Because 100 years before that happens, all the Muslims die at the same time. All the Muslims are made to die. What I know is 100. I never heard 300. 100 years. So for 100 years, there will be no Muslim on the earth, and the name of Allah will not be spoken on the earth. And the people on the earth at that time, all of them would be kafirs, would be blasphemers, non-Muslims, accountable, and they would, their life, they would resort to living like savages. But they'll be doing their day-to-day, living their day-to-day. It's mentioned that when the blow of the horn happens, there would be someone about to put a spoonful of food in their mouth. There would be a woman that's about to give birth. There would be a man tending to his livestock. Like in the middle of their day-to-day, this is the sound of the horn occurs, it crescendos, and their hearts get ripped inside of their chest. They all die. The earth changes, gets destroyed, and every creation dies, except for certain creations that Allah Ta'ala made an exception for them, that they don't die. But everything dies except Allah. And then 40 years after that, Allah Ta'ala resurrects angel Israfil, and he orders him to blow the horn a second time, and then everyone gets resurrected. That's the beginning of Judgment Day. So when does Satan die? At the blow of the first horn, when everybody else dies. So once Satan knew that his life would extend until the end of the world, then Satan swore to Allah, by Allah, and by the glory and majesty of Allah, he said, I swear by your izzah that I will misguide and deviate and take as many of the children of Adam with me to hellfire as possible, as much as he can. So his mission is to destroy the human being, both spiritually and physically. So that's how we see that, for example, have you ever seen someone that is like addicted to heroin? Their body's destroyed, they have like these sores, sometimes like you can see through the bone because it gets infected, and physically they're destroyed, they're humiliated, they're degraded, and they're suffering, and they're going through pain. The devil loves that. He loves to see that. He loves to see human beings betraying each other and murdering each other and backstabbing each other and doing foul things to each other. He loves that. He loves human beings to live in filth and to not do anything that is good or pure. But his main goal is to make the human being be a blasphemer, a non-Muslim, a rejecter of Islam, and a hater of Islam. That's his main thing. So, and of course, and he has a lot of children. Because we see how many human beings there are on the earth. They all come from one man, Prophet Adam alayhi salam, and indirectly through compound multiplication. But also, even his wife, Lady Eve, she was created from a part of his body. And so Prophet Adam alayhi salam, he was created by Allah Ta'ala in his complete form. He wasn't made like, for example, a fetus, and then he was made to develop and grow, and then until he reaches his final form. No, from the beginning, Prophet Adam alayhi salam, he was created in his final form. And that's what the hadith means. إِنَّ اللَّهَ خَلَقَ آدَمَ عَلَى صُورَتِهِ أي على صورته التامة، على صورة آدم التامة، يعني على الصورة التي آدم كان عليها. يعني ليس أنه تطور وانتقل يعني من جنين إلى مولود ثم يعني إلى طفولة وشباب حتى يستوي. لا، إنما خلق على صورته الكاملة التي على الهيئة الكاملة التي هو عليها. وليس معنى ذلك أن لله تعالى صورة وجعل صورة آدم على تلك الصورة، فهذا كفر صريح. So the reason I'm mentioning this is because some people, they misinterpret this hadith and they attribute an image to Allah. They say, and it's, of course that's blasphemy to say, they say that God created Adam in His image. So the people who, they have the corrupt creed, they misunderstand that, and they think that it means that God has an image and God made man in that image. Na'udhu billah. That's what the Christians say. That's kufr, that's blasphemy. That takes the person out of Islam. What it means is that Allah Ta'ala created Prophet Adam in his final form, in his complete form. Yani in his image, yani in Adam's image. Allah Ta'ala created Adam in the image of Adam, as he is complete, final form, without going through the stages of development that we go through. And then from Adam, his wife, Lady Eve, was created. They were married, yani Allah Ta'ala judged that Eve is the wife of Adam. And of course, Adam knew that, yani it was revealed to him. And so they multiplied. So she would get pregnant with twins, a boy and a girl, and she had 40 sets of twins. And for each pregnancy, a boy and a girl. 40 times, right? And then each, let's say, male from one pregnancy, from one birth, would marry the female from another birth. And it was forbidden for the male and female of the same pregnancy to marry each other. So for the twins to marry each other is forbidden. For one male to marry the female of another pregnancy was permissible, and this stayed permissible until the number of people got large, and so then this ruling was abrogated. So a new ruling, a new judgment was revealed, which is that it's forbidden to marry your sister, whether she was a twin from the same pregnancy or from another pregnancy. And then Lady Eve, she had one boy, and after the 40 sets of twins, she had one boy, and that was Seth, Prophet Sheeth, alayhi salam. And so he was the second prophet and messenger. And then human beings, obviously, they multiply, they're all over the earth now. But we all trace back, and we all go back to Adam. So the same way, Satan, he has many, many offspring, and a lot of his offspring, they serve him, or they obey him. They're like his legion, and so they do his bidding, and they seek his acceptance, and they seek his validation, to the extent that he has a gathering, And then the devils, they gather around and they all tell, for example, oh, today I made a man murder his brother. And then the devil would downplay that. And another one would say, today I made a man divorce his wife. And meaning he, instigated, because the devils, they can't control you. They don't know what you're thinking. Nobody knows what you're thinking except Allah. And so the devil doesn't know what you're thinking. And he cannot control you like a puppet or like a robot. No. What the devil does, or what the demons do, because every one of us is born with a demon assigned to them at birth. What the demons do is they exploit your vulnerabilities and what they know about you, let's say, as a human being, because they've been with you since birth. So they know what you like, what you don't like. They know what triggers you, for example. So they use that against the person. And so one of them would say to his father, Satan, today I made a man divorce his wife. Today I made a man murder someone. Today I made a man do this. Today I made a man steal, etc. And the devil's downplaying it. And then one of them says, today I made someone leave Islam. And so the devil gets happy and he brings him close and he gives him a seat of whatever, what he thinks is honor, a seat of honor. And he says, you're the one. He says, you're the one. That's what pleases him the most. So these demons, they would love to wipe us off the face of the earth, but because of those angels that are assigned to each human, there's several of them that are the guardian angels, and then there's 2 that write down everything that you do and say, and there's others too. But there's the guardian angels and the ones who document everything, what you say and what you do. So you always have angels around you. You always have angels with you. And every single person, whether they're a kafir or a Muslim, they all have these angels that are assigned to them to protect them from the jinn, from the demons, and from the non-Muslim jinn. And so this is an example of the types of orders that the angels do. So that this ayah, number 3, is referring to those angels that are going back and forth doing whatever Allah ordered them to do. And Allah is swearing by those angels. Then verse number 4, فَالسَّابِقَاتِ سَبِقًا. This is swearing by those angels who race the souls of the believers forward to paradise. So, one example is when the pious Muslim dies, once his soul is taken out completely, the angels of mercy, they take that soul and they envelop it with a fabric of paradise. And that soul is emitting a beautiful smell. And then they take that soul and they go up through the 7 heavens. So at each heaven, it's the angels that are carrying it, the angels that are in the heavens, they ask those angels, who is that? And those angels, they say, this is so-and-so, the son of so-and-so. And then they ask, congratulations to him, he made it, he is a believer. And they're like, it's kind of like cheering that soul on, like praising that soul, that they have the victory, that they're a winner, that they've got this great reward, all through the 7 heavens. So the first heaven it happens, the second heaven it happens, the third heaven, and the angels, they say to themselves, what a beautiful soul, what a beautiful smell is coming from this soul. And all the angels will know the name of that person and of that Muslim. And then they go up to the 7 heavens, and so those angels are carrying the soul, and then they go to a place above the 7th heaven, called Illiyun. And so this is a place where that soul is taken, and his name is written in a book of the people of paradise. So this is the book of the people of paradise, and so his name is written there. And so that place is like a hub. So there's like, souls going up there, angels coming and going. So you might see someone there that you knew in this life. And then they might ask you, and who died before you. And then they might ask you about, for example, someone that you both knew on earth. And so you might tell that person, oh, so-and-so, he died a while ago. And then those people, those Muslims there in Illiyun, they would say, oh, we didn't see him pass through here, which is not a good sign. But so then after the name of that soul is written in the book of paradise, and the book of those who will be in paradise, then the angels, they bring the soul back down to the body, and the soul accompanies the body on the way to the grave, hovering above, the procession. And that soul of the pious Muslim, he will be saying, bring me forward, because he knows what he's going to get, and he's going to get the reward. And so then once the body is buried and the soil is put on the body, then the soul goes back inside of the body, returns inside the body. And that pious Muslim, he will be alive again. But this is the life of the afterlife. No more need of oxygen, no more need of food, no more need of drink. This is not the physical realm anymore. This is the life of the grave. And so that pious Muslim, he will be fully conscious with all his senses, his soul inside of his body, and he'll be experiencing enjoyment, of course, in the grave until his body decomposes, and that won't be painful for him. And then once the body decomposes, then that soul goes to paradise, to a place in paradise that's like a preliminary place where he will be experiencing the enjoyments of paradise until Judgment Day. Then on Judgment Day, the soul returns to the recreated body and still enjoying and with tranquility and peace until they cross the bridge, and then they enter paradise, and then they stay in paradise forever and ever. So Allah Ta'ala is swearing by those angels who race the souls of the believers forward to paradise. Then verse number 5, فَالْمُدَبِّرَاتِ أَمْرًا. Allah Ta'ala is swearing by the angels who manage the rain, clouds, and plants as their Lord commanded them. And then ayah number 6, يَوْمَ تَرْجُفُ الرَّاجِفَةِ. So now this is what is called all the swearing that happened is to emphasize something. What is going to be emphasized? The meaning of verse number 6, on the day the earth-quaking horn blast is sounded. And so this is referring to the first blow of the horn. The earth will quake and the mountains will shake. Verse 7, تَتْبَعُهَا الرَّادِفَةِ, which means the succeeding blast follows it. So the first blow of the horn, everything dies except Allah. Then there are 40 years between. Then the second blow of the horn, and everything will quicken with life by the will of Allah, and the people will be resurrected. Now, these next verses are talking about some of the circumstances on Judgment Day. Remember, the idol worshippers during the time of the Prophet ﷺ, they thought it was far-fetched that there would be such a thing. But the Prophet ﷺ, he never told a lie, and even his fellow tribesmen, or even the tribe of Quraysh, they admitted that he was trustworthy and truthful. So this is why the statements about the hereafter and Judgment Day are so emphasized, and to show the magnitude of Judgment Day. Verse number 8, قُلُوبٌ يَوْمَئِذٍ وَاجِفَةٌ, which means hearts on that day pounding. So whose hearts is going to be pounding on Judgment Day? The hearts of the non-believers. Because they went through their whole entire existence in this world thinking that the Muslims are wrong, and talking bad about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, hating Islam in their heart, and now the position that they're in is realizing and knowing and seeing firsthand that Islam was true, but they're on the wrong side of things. They're on the receiving end of the punishment, so their hearts are going to be pounded, they're going to be terrified. The blasphemers will be extremely frenzied and dreadfully agitated. Verse number 9, أَبْصَارُهَا خَاشِعَةٌ, which means their eyes humiliated. The non-Muslims are going to be looking downwards in humiliation because of the dreadfulness they observe. Verse 10, يَقُولُونَ أَإِنَّا لَمَرْدُودُونَ فِي الْحَافِرَةِ, so this is an example of the type of belittling, mocking statement that the non-Muslims would make when the Prophet ﷺ would teach about Judgment Day and would teach about the afterlife. They would say, "Shall we return to life in the graves?" And their tone was a mocking tone, was a belittling tone, and it reflects that they believe that something like that will never happen. And you find people like that today. There are people like that today where their attitude towards a Muslim believing in these things, that they're going to happen for sure, and acting as a result of knowing that. For example, if a Muslim is tempted to do something sinful, he'll stop himself because he knows there's a Judgment Day. So a Muslim won't stoop to a certain level that a non-Muslim stoops to, because the Muslim knows that God knows everything and God sees him and everything is going to be recorded, and you're going to pay. The evildoers are going to pay. So the Muslim, since he believes that and knows that, he would stop himself and deter himself from doing what is immoral and unethical and what is unjust. But the non-Muslims, since they don't, so the attitude of the non-Muslim towards a Muslim that believes that or acts according to knowing that there is a Judgment Day, they would tell that Muslim, "Are you serious? You think we're going to be resurrected? You think that there's this? You think that there's that after death, etc.?" That's the type of rhetoric that the idol worshippers were using during the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Verse 11, it's again another example of the foul rhetoric of the non-Muslims. أَإِذَا كُنَّا عِظَامًا نَخِرَةً, they would say, when we shall have become rotten, decayed bones. So this one goes together with verse 10. So they say, "Shall we indeed return to life in the graves when we would have become rotten, decayed bones?" And then verse 12, قَالُوا تِلْكَ إِذًا كَرَّةٌ خَاسِرَةٌ, قَالُوا تِلْكَ إِذًا كَرَّةٌ خَاسِرَةٌ, which means they said, the idol worshippers, they said, if that is the case, our return to life would be a losing one. So since they didn't believe that resurrection will happen, the blasphemers mockingly and denyingly said, if this return to life happens in our graves, it shall be a losing affair for us. Yani, it's like sarcastically responding to a person that you don't fear any punishment from them after they threaten you by you saying, I guess you will punish me then. So you know how like someone, they would threaten you and you have no fear of their punishment, and you would say something to them like, so you're going to punish me then? So you're going to do this to me then? That's the tone that those idol worshippers were taking when it came to Judgment Day. That's what the meaning of verses 10, 11, and 12 are. That those idol worshippers used to tell the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we're going to be alive in our graves, and after we became rotten, decayed bones, they're saying, if that's the case, then we're going to be losers. Meaning, they don't believe that such a thing is going to happen. Then verse 13, فَإِنَّمَا هِيَ زَجْرَةٌ وَاحِدَةٌ. So this is referring to the first blow of the horn. It means, but certainly it will be but a single blast. Yani the sound of the horn, as we said, there's two, the first and the second one. And so this ayah shows that creating the resurrection is an easy matter for Allah. Then verse 14, فَإِذَا هُمْ بِالسَّاهِرَةِ, which means, and behold, they will be upon the surface of the earth. So the feel of these two ayahs put together is, but certainly it'll be but a single blast, and all of a sudden they will be upon the surface of the earth. So before that, 10, 11, and 12, verses 10, 11, and 12, the blasphemers, and it's mentioned about them mocking and saying, after we become bones, we're going to be alive in our grave. If that's the case, then we're going to be losers, in a mocking way. So then the response, or the refutation, verse 13 and 14 is, but certainly, for sure, without a doubt, it's going to be a single blast, and they'll be all on the surface of the earth in the next instant. Meaning, this is something easy for Allah. This is a matter that it's not, it is a matter that it happens fast, happens immediately. No difficulty involved. Now, and after mentioning all of that, then, and this happens in many chapters as well, where an incident of the past, a historical occurrence that is related to a tyrant that does not believe in God and that rejects and hates Islam, what their situation was and how it ended. What they did, the injustices that they did, and the consequence of that, how that played out and how that ended up. So here, verse 15 begins the mention of such an incident. Verse 15, هَلْ أَتَاكَ حَدِيثُ مُوسَى, which means, O Muhammad, has the story of Moses come to you? So now, obviously, and this story is mentioned in different places at different times in the Quran. Certain details are mentioned in some surahs, certain details are mentioned in other surahs. But the main point, or one of the main things of the story of Pharaoh, is that it shows that no matter how big and how cruel and how evil and how tyrannical a human being can reach on earth. Because the Pharaoh, he lived for centuries, right? Centuries. And he was worshipped. And people worshipped him. And people worshipped him, and he claimed to be God. He claimed to be a God. And people worshipped him. And he lived for centuries. So even someone like him, when, for example, when it's Islam versus blasphemy, good versus evil, the pure versus the corrupt and the toxic, the situation of the evildoer and the tyrant, it's always, they fail, they're defeated, they're destroyed. Verse 16, إِذْ نَادَاهُ رَبُّهُ بِالْوَادِ الْمُقَدَّسِ طُوًى. Which means when Allah Ta'ala bestowed the revelation upon Moses in the holy valley of Tuwa. And so some scholars said Tuwa is a valley in Palestine. And Allah Ta'ala granted the revelation in that place, the valley of Tuwa. Basically, Allah Ta'ala enabled Prophet Moses alayhi salam to hear his eternal and everlasting attribute, which is not a sound letter or language. So among what was revealed to him is mentioned in verse 17, اذهب إلى فرعون إنه طغى. Which means, O Moses, go to the Pharaoh, for he has indeed transgressed. And this is also one of the beneficial lessons learned from the story of Prophet Musa alayhi salam. And it shows the tendency of the prophets to readily obey Allah and to trust in Allah. So we have the Pharaoh, who's a tyrant, claims to be God, is worshipped, has power, because he's the Pharaoh and he has subjects and he rules over a kingdom. And you have Prophet Musa alayhi salam on his own, sent to call the Pharaoh to al-Islam. Sent to tell him, to advise him, leave out your misguidance and convert to al-Islam. So Allah Ta'ala ordered Prophet Musa alayhi salam to go to Pharaoh, who was arrogant and he claimed to be God. Prophet Musa alayhi salam was ordered to go to him and to order him to embrace al-Islam. So verse 18 is, and these verses that are coming up are going to be mentioning some of how that took place. Verse 18, فَقُلْ هَلْ لَكَ إِلَىٰ أَن تَزَكَّىٰ. Which means, and say to the Pharaoh, O Musa, say to the Pharaoh, how about going to purity? Won't you accept the call to Islam and purify yourself from sin? Because as long as the human being is alive and as long as certain things don't take place, the door of repentance is open. So there's certain times, and before the person dies, that if that time is reached, the door of repentance will be closed. And it won't be valid for him to repent anymore. It'll be too late. So the Pharaoh, even though he was a tyrant, even though he was evil, still he had a chance to redeem himself. And his chances through Prophet Moses alayhi salam. Then verse 19, وَأَهْدِيَكَ إِلَىٰ رَبِّكَ فَتَخْشَىٰ. Which means, and that Moses guides the first part is connected. The verse before this is connected to that, which means, and say, how about going to purity? And how about embracing Islam, and let me guide you to obeying Allah and being a believer in the Creator, so that you may have fear. So that you may, for example, think about your situation, and if you were tempted to do a sin, you would stop yourself because you don't want to be punished by Allah. Then verse 20, فَأَرَاهُ الْآيَةَ الْكُبْرَى, which means then Moses showed Pharaoh the great sign. And so what great sign is that? Among them is the staff of Prophet Moses alayhi salam, literally transforming into a gigantic serpent, and the illumination of Prophet Moses' hand. So he put his hand in his robe, and then he took it out, and it was shining white light. But the serpent, and it turned into a real serpent, and it consumed everything in its path, and it made Pharaoh soil himself out of fear. And we'll stop here for today. We got to verse 21. Insha'Allah, we'll pray Isha. If there are any questions, we'll conclude.